Yes, and I don't know if it was one or two of them, got in a fight and threw the guy into the trophy case.
Welcome back to the Swayside Connection podcast. And who do we have on today's episode?
We have Chris Schwery in the house.
Chris Schwery, what's up, man? So it's funny because I briefly said that your name has actually come up on this podcast a couple times. And so that's why it's kind of funny. Like, somebody will mention a name and then I'm like, man, I wonder if that person could come on the podcast. So now you're here. So when's the first time you heard of this podcast now that this is like,
well, I think you reached out to me and
okay.
you mentioned that hey, you were doing a podcast and my name has come up a few times, and then I checked out the podcast and I was like, yeah, I'm in. So nothing crazy, just Coke Zero. Gotta
Coke
have a
Zero.
little caffeine after work to keep me moving.
Nice. Yeah, I'm having a little sugar-free caffeine action too. It's just a black coffee though. So
Okay.
which is kind of like been my drink mostly when I do a lot of these interviews is
Coffee.
coffee. Yeah, just a little pick me up. If I put anything else in it, I'll kill it too fast. So that's also why I kind of like the black coffee. I don't drink it as fast when it's just plain black coffee. Because if there's other stuff in there, I'll kill it. I'll just like one sip and I'll just like down the whole thing. So
I have that problem too, so don't worry.
yeah. Man, that's dope. I'm so thankful to have you on because, man, you're just another person that, man, I'm so curious to hear like how you've been but when I do this, reconnecting with people is probably one of the funnest parts of this. And so man, I'm just like, thank you for jumping on. I like to start like from the way beginning. So like where were you born? And then like, how did you come to Spanaway?
Yeah, I was actually born in Nevada, and yeah, and I was born in Nevada because my dad was actually in the Air Force. Okay. And
Okay.
so I moved around to different places like Nevada, Texas, Iowa, Germany, and then I actually came from Germany to Washington. That's how I got here.
Well, snap. Okay. That's dope. Were you born? Where were you born? In Nellis?
Yeah, exactly.
No way. Yeah, my mom used to work at that hospital right there for
Oh,
like Nellis.
Sun, Sun, what is it? It's some like Sunside or it's something like that. I can't remember the name of it,
I
but
mean, it's the military hospital on the
yeah.
base.
The military one on the yeah. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
where I was. Yeah, exactly.
dude. So
So
that's where you were born. You were born in that Nellis Air Force
I was
Base
born.
Hospital.
I was born. Yeah, there. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah. So, yeah, I used to live right by there, but I stayed there from 2018 to 2021. I used to live right by it's kind of hood now in that area, like by the base is kind of hood, but yeah, my mom used to work on that base. Like she was a nurse there at that hospital you were born in. So,
Small
man,
world.
that's crazy. And then, do you remember where in Germany you were at?
Yeah. So I was like, we were like west of Frankfurt, probably like towards a town called Koblenz. So it was kind of towards the Luxembourg border between like by the Rhine River type scenario. Yeah. So I was there 5 years in Germany, and then it was at
What
the time.
age? How old were you?
I went there in kindergarten, and then I came back at the beginning at fifth grade is when I came to
Spanaway,
yeah, Spanaway.
Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, it was crazy. So that's where I went to most of my grade school, right, is in Germany.
Dude.
Yeah.
Did you know German back then?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So I went to a military base, on a school on the base. So
So it's
no,
American. So it's basically an American
right,
school.
exactly. They taught us German like one class every couple times a week, but no, I know a few words and stuff, but like it's been so long, I don't really speak German, so no.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because it's funny. I was born there. I was born right by Frankfurt. I was born in Wiesbaden.
I know where that
So
is. Yeah, exactly. I've been there. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that's why I have a German name. So like my name is straight as German as it can get. It's like,
Yeah, same. Okay, so
so
uh, go ahead.
yeah, go. So your last name, what is that?
Yeah, so it's like a Swiss German. Like, so my grandparents are like Germany and Switzerland area, and so yeah, exactly. So that's where the name comes from. So,
Dude, okay. Damn,
and
that's
it's
dope.
crazy,
Yeah.
like the whole Nellis and Germany. This is
Yeah.
I never knew that about you at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many places when it comes to military, and like a lot of, I'd say, like, man, if you're listening to this podcast, I'd say probably 65% of the people that come on the podcast, like our parents were all in the military. So that's kind of like how we all, like, so many people lived in Germany or were born in Germany, like myself, like, and then you living there. And then I didn't realize that's like you lived there before you came to Washington. So it's, and then, just with the military, there's only so many places where military bases are. And then, like, because my dad had retired in like in the 90s, and then they found a place in, they liked Vegas because, like they like to gamble and stuff, but the military base was there too. So that's also why, they like having access to all the like military stuff, as even as retirees. And so that's partly why I know that area really well, just because my parents were there. And so, but
Wow,
yeah,
it
it's
feels like a
crazy.
small world in a sense, right? So
1,000%.
yeah,
Especially when I do this Spanaway podcast, you could also kind of say this podcast is basically like for all of us parents, it's like a parents in the military. Oh, this is like a military brat podcast because so many of us are military brats,
I
you
think I
know?
was listening to one snippet, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was April who was on, and I think she mentioned something about something military related as well
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
that I didn't even know actually.
yeah.
Along all the years.
So
Yeah,
many of us that I didn't know that the parents were in the military. So that's why it's just like, what? Okay, that makes sense now. Like, and
right,
then,
right.
you just kind of piece things together. So you were fifth grade, and then you came in like the middle of that year or at the beginning of fifth
It
grade
was
or?
it was like so it was yeah, I kind of came in like October, November
Okay.
timeframe.
Yep.
I had started actually that fifth grade year. I was in Iowa because I had to go back because my grandmother was dying, unfortunately, and so
Yeah.
we were staying back there, for a couple months, and so my parents had enrolled me in school, and then
In Iowa.
in Iowa, and then a couple months into the year, I came to Camas Prairie. That's where I went to elementary school. So yeah, and then from there, I went there a couple of years, and then on to City Crest, right?
Nice. Do you remember anything from Camas Prairie? Do you remember like that coming into school? Like, so that,
Yeah, there's a few people that you meet, uh, when you come there. I remember going there, and school is a little bit different here, just in the flow of things.
how was it different?
I mean, it wasn't different, but it just seemed a little bit looser here. It seemed a little bit more structure where I was.
Okay. In
I
Germany or
mean,
in Iowa?
in Germany, in
Okay,
Germany, in
yeah.
Germany and Iowa, and then Washington was a little bit different. Like, but new place. I'm like, I had just turned like 11 years old. We just go with the flow at that point, right? So, and then being in the military, I've moved around enough. Like changing a school wasn't a big deal to me anymore, even at that age.
Did you have siblings?
Yeah,
Did you have any siblings?
I have one older brother who's 2 years older than me.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
so that's it. And do you have siblings?
Me?
Yeah.
I have two half siblings, like on my mom's side, that they didn't grow up with me though. And so, like, they grew up in New Zealand. And, like, so now one lives in New Zealand still. He's the like vice principal of his old high school now. And then the other one lives in Abu Dhabi, and they're both teachers. So they both teach. So he teaches out there. And then he married another teacher, and she was from Romania. So, but they love their life out there as just like expats that basically, they get paid they work for schools out there and just, kind of living that teacher life, and it's super chill. But yeah,
I know about that teacher life growing up in that. So I grew up in that teacher life. I don't know if
you
you know
grew
that.
up in the, no, no, no. Yeah. Tell us if you,
Okay.
yeah.
So so a funny story is my mom was a teacher, okay? My dad
Oh,
was
I
in the
didn't know that.
and wait till I tell you even more, right? So my mom initially went to Texas Tech, and then when my dad got orders to Germany, she had only finished 2 years of school. But back in the day, there wasn't like online school,
Yes.
right? So she had to basically take a break for like the 5 years we were in Germany. When we come back, she went to a school here, but and then she ended up, as a teacher, you have to do like your student teaching. You know
Yeah.
how they like a year. She
Yep.
actually did her student teaching in my sixth grade class
What?
at Camas Prairie. And some of our classmates were actually in my class. I'm trying to remember who was in there. I think Jay, Zach, Tanitra,
Yep. 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 Yep.
and there's probably a few others I'm missing. But like, yeah, we were in the sixth grade class. So my mom, part of the year, was the student teacher in our class.
Oh my gosh. Chemist. Wow. Damn, that is crazy.
And,
Was that?
and go ahead, keep going.
No, I mean, so what was that like having your mom there? Sixth grade.
I mean,
Because there's other classes. There's other sixth grade classes too. Like, damn, the
yeah,
one that you happen to be in, that's kind of
I think it
pretty
was
funny.
because the teacher we had, my mom had
Nice.
clicked with her kind of thing, and because I was already there, I don't know exactly, I was so young at the time how it totally came to be, but
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's how it happened. But it wasn't crazy. I mean, I was like, I wasn't like a troublemaker. I was a good
True.
student.
True.
Oh, it made life a little bit easier, but it was a little bit different, right? So
Did the class know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
crazy.
totally. Yeah. And if anything, it's probably harder on me than, the next because you can't, try not to show favoritism or anything like that. And then you have the regular teacher there, too as well. So yeah, but that was my sixth grade year. And then so, I mean, just the lineage, how it ties back to me is just then Cedar Crest, Spanaway Lake. Well, as I kind of graduated, my mom was a teacher at Cedar Crest. My mom was a teacher at Spanaway Lake.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she recently retired like 4 years ago. She used to teach AP English at Spanaway Lake.
No way. Dude. So, dude,
But there's
that's
some like there's
crazy.
some I can't remember. There's some classmates that we graduated with our graduating class that my mom had their kids.
Wow. I'm sure it's happened for sure. Cause
Yeah, yeah.
like
I mean,
we've
because
been
the
out
age,
so
just
long.
just small window.
Because you're 98 too, and everybody that's 98, we graduated 27 years ago. So
That's wild.
that's, I know, that's super wild. So like that's plenty of time to have other kids come up behind us that could possibly have been taught by your mom easily,
Possibly easily. So
easily,
some of
dude.
the some of the teachers and like coaches, like let's say like Roback, right?
Yeah, oh,
My
yeah,
mom
yeah.
my mom was on the staff when he was still there. There's some other people that, teachers that we had were still there when my mom was there too. She was there about 10, I think 10 years, something like that.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, that's crazy. I didn't see.
So
I didn't even realize that.
yeah, so I went, Cedar Crest, Spanaway Lake, well, likewise that. So it's interesting, right? So
So when was she at Cedar Crest?
we had already left. I can't remember the exact years.
So it was basically
It was
everywhere.
like
It's kind of
my
it's
kid, my kids
funny.
were kids were smaller, so at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So anyway,
No, that's dope.
yeah, yeah. But like people like Miss Norton, Mr. Winquist, these people, they were still all there when my mom was here.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those names.
I mean,
Yeah,
some of those names, I don't know all the teachers. I mean, if you look back and see the faces and stuff, I'd remember some of them, but a lot of them were still there. And then I think after I left high school and I was in college and stuff, that she went on to Spanaway Lake for probably the rest of
dude,
her.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's go back to Camas Prairie. So how tall are you when you're at Camas Prairie? Because
Yeah,
when I met you in seventh grade, you were taller than most seventh graders. So I'm curious. You
yeah.
got to Camas Prairie, yeah.
So when I got there, how tall was I in fifth grade? I was at least 5'3". And then by the time I was in sixth grade, I was 5'6". Yeah. So I thought I was gonna be huge, but I only ended up being about 6'3". So, but
6'3"
yeah,
is still pretty big though.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
6'3" is still huge. To us people that are 5'8" and shorter, 6'3" is monstrous to
yeah,
us.
yeah. But yeah, I was in my sixth grade year. I was like 5'6". So I don't know exactly what I was when I got to Camas Prairie.
Yeah, nice. And then did you do any other like extracurriculars back then?
Yeah. I played basketball, flag football, baseball. Those were the three things I did at
Damn, so you
Camas
did
Prairie.
everything kind of back then.
Yeah,
And
yeah, uh-huh. I did it, yeah, and then
And then going into Cedar Crest, you did all those same sports too.
yeah, so I did all those same sports. I played football, and then I played basketball, and then I played baseball, and then my eighth and ninth grade year at Cedar Crest, I actually did wrestling too. I think me and so you know how like in the junior high sports they have like 4 seasons, kind of like they have
See, I
like
didn't
football.
realize that.
They
Yeah.
have, yeah. So where high school is a little different. So they had like football and like girls soccer, I think, or something, and then they had like wrestling and girls basketball, and then they had boys basketball, and I can't remember what. Maybe it was volleyball was somewhere in the mix there too, somewhere. But
Yeah.
in between football and basketball, there was a gap. So for 2 years, I think me and another teammate of mine, do you remember Chris Belzer? I think he wrestled as well, and then and I wrestled
Dude, so
for
you guys
2 years.
both did,
Yeah,
because
and
that's
I
kind
was.
of what we were known for at Cedar Crest. Like,
Yeah, there was a couple of good wrestlers that we had.
yeah.
I was not one of them. Uh, yeah. I did it for the like the conditioning and the training and all that stuff. But yeah, so I did that for 2 years, and then the other 3 years I played football, basketball, and baseball.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, now that I think back now, I just remembered, yeah, we kind of did have 4 seasons for junior high sports because
Yeah,
I didn't really play
so they're
sports in junior high.
they're shorter, but they kind
Yeah,
of work them in like that. Yeah.
dude, that's awesome. Yeah, what kind of memories do you have from those junior high days?
Oh, yeah,
Any
I got a lot, but I mean, it's crazy. Probably the most memorable year that I had when I was at the junior high was my ninth grade year, probably. I think
Mhm.
that was probably the one. Seventh grade was interesting because you get there, just people everywhere compared to your
Yes,
elementary school. Luckily,
yes,
I was a little bit taller, so it kind of helped me, as I kind of navigate through the school a little bit.
yeah,
And yeah, and I just remember, first time you have like lockers and stuff like that and all that
for
kind of cool
sure.
stuff. And just
I brought it up before, but I had hella anxiety. Like my anxiety was like crazy going from elementary to junior high because that whole thing, like the people, there's so many people, and then the locker thing, and then like you're going to different classes every. It's
so yeah.
just I had high anxiety going into seventh grade year.
So the good thing was for me, my brother was 2 years older than me, so he had already been through it. And two, I had already known some of the people from sports. Like I don't know if you remember, Belser was one of them. Robert
Yep,
Airchar
yep,
was one of them. Who else went to Evergreen that kind of fed in? There was some of the people that fed into like that Evergreen Elementary. They
yes,
so the first day when I walked in there, they kind of threw us into the gym, I think, where you get your schedule. I can't remember exactly now.
yep,
And
yeah,
and now I see some familiar faces where, you're like, oh, hey, what's up? Kind of thing. And I knew, I like Ronnie Shear. I played baseball with him. And
yep.
then I think Spencer, as well, Spencer Hunt, some of the people I played against in elementary school. So now it kind of made it a little bit easier for me in that respect.
Dude, sports is definitely like a cheat code now because I feel like that what helped when I went from junior high to high school. That like helped when we were playing football, just being.
Oh,
I remember you, right? Like I still remember like practices and stuff, and then like coming to school and just like adjusting to high school was so easy because we were kind of like already going through it, and I feel like sports and especially football for that coming into as a
the
sophomore
beginning of the
is
year
just
and stuff.
it's yeah it's like you're all because for all of us, I think this goes for everybody that plays fall sports too. So like, this goes for like girls volleyball, and because you see these people wait like 2 weeks before the school
At least, right?
before before school actually starts. So like we're already like in a rhythm, a groove of like going
Right.
to school kind of like on a daily basis. Just but we're going for our practices and stuff. So we get to see the volleyball girls and we get to see some of the other like people. And so like and then when school starts, it's kind of like no, this is where everybody else just kind of fills in, and so
Exactly. Do you remember in seventh grade? You were at Cedar Crest in seventh grade, right?
yep. Yep.
I remember the like the shed container we used to change in for football. Remember that? Like the seventh grade team,
See, I didn't play football that in junior high. I wish I did. I would have been so much better. I feel like my first years I played football was at Spanaway Lake, and so I felt
Really?
like that. Yeah, and that put me
You
kind
know,
of behind the ball. Like I was as an athlete, I was good enough to play, but like a lot of all the fundamentals I was learning that sophomore year, which I should have been learning in junior high.
it helps
And
a little bit.
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure.
I
But no,
remember.
go ahead. You were talking about that the shed. Yeah,
So they didn't have enough room, so they had varsity and JV. They changed in the actual locker room at Cedar Crest. They had like this like portable shed in the back where the C team was. So you imagine you got like 40 dudes or less, maybe
yeah,
less, and they're all changing. The equipment stinks or whatever in this like, and they would just close the container. It'd be equivalent to like a you ever see those like pods containers that people have
yes,
in their driveway? Well, imagine that like three times that or something. I don't know, but you was changing in that, and then we would go out and practice, and it was just kind of funny. That was our seventh grade year, and so
dude.
and I didn't even know like after my seventh grade year. So it was my I actually played. I don't know if you knew this. I played Jay Nalder and I played tackle football on the same team as sixth graders on like a different team. Okay,
On a non-school related team.
right, on a non-school. It was my and that was my first year of tackle football, and so him and it was like I think it was like some Franklin Pierce kids and some different people, and the name of the team was the Waltz Raiders. Okay, I don't know what the
Okay.
name of it. Okay, so we go to
Yeah.
this practice, and we're both 12. Okay, and they mix it. I think they do it somewhat based on weight, but at that time, but we had seventh graders and a few sixth graders, and we go to this practice, and I was literally getting my bell rung, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't remember what Jay's experience was, but I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that was my first taste. And then when I got to the seventh grade year, I was playing against kids that were kind of my age and stuff, and like, you're just used to it a little bit, the contact and everything.
For sure.
And same probably went for you if you would have like done it a year or two before, it would have helped a little bit.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Because so I don't know. Do you remember sophomore year football?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was basically it was like Robert, you, Jay, and me were kind of like the sophomores that basically got to really play with varsity a lot, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think we
yeah.
we ran a lot. We ran a lot. And it's funny because we all played defense, and that's kind of what our like sort of our main
Right,
like
right. Yeah,
function was.
yeah. I was like a backup tight end to like Darian Malarcher in my sophomore year,
Yes.
and
Yep.
then linebacker was me and Airchar, and I can't remember who they put in the weak side, but when you texted me, the first thing I thought about was when there was a play. I think we were doing like a drill, and it involved you, right? And you were on defense or something. I think I don't remember what I was doing, but you got like hit so hard that like you fell, right? And like I didn't know if you were okay, and like everyone came running over, and like you had like somehow like just sacrificed your body to like because that's how you played, right? That's the
Yeah,
one thing
for
I
sure.
remember about you. You just laid it all on the line, right? And then
Always.
Mr. Wright yells out, "Toga foul!" Like all loud comes like you remember how you would get all hype.
Yeah.
It was. I remember one of the plays like that. It was. So when you texted me, I was just that's what I thought. Toga. So I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. No, that's so, it's funny. I was going to save this for when, because I think he'll eventually come on the podcast, Coach Wright. And like, but so like, I felt like as an athlete, like I was pretty decent enough to kind of play when we were sophomores, but I wasn't really used to the hitting yet. Like, I would kind of be out there, but I think it was one of the later practices. And I want to say, I don't know which one it was, but there was a time where, man, Coach Wright called me out because I wasn't going 100%. In
You
fact,
thought you were
I
like
kind
playing
of
kind of soft or something or like that
well,
or
I
I don't.
kind of went into like I kind of like somebody. I was playing defense. Somebody was coming through the hole, and I wasn't like because like you kind of remember that like of me kind of doing that. But there was a time period where basically I tried to go in and like I did one of these, and then Coach Wright called me out. Was like in front of the whole team. He was like, "Did you just go in the fetal position?" And then I like it embarrassed me so badly, but I felt like I needed it. That I like after that, after him calling me out like that one practice, like, so I never wanted him to ever basically accuse me of basically bitching out like that, right? And so, because that's what it felt. He basically called me a bitch in front of the whole team, and like, man, and like I kind of agreed with him because I was like, dude, yeah, I mean, I was kind of like scared at that moment, but that embarrassment was so much stronger, like for me, that after that practice, after that single practice, like I never wanted to have anybody ever think of me like that ever again. So man, that's why like after that, man, I always came trying to like kill somebody basically, because and then I never had any type of fear after that. My fear of getting embarrassed was so much stronger than like the fear of like any sort of physical harm after that. But it's funny how that one little thing, like it kind of like,
You could flip the switch, right?
yes,
And so, I mean, I had a, I mean, well, it was funny in my, it was our ninth grade year. So our ninth grade year at Cedar Crest, we're playing. It's a lot of the usual suspects that you know from so in Cedar Crest, right? It's like me. There's like Pat Martin, Belcher, Spencer Hahn, Jay, Zach. I don't remember all the people. I'm probably missing some of the people of the ninth grade year. And so we're at a home game, and I think Spencer was one of our running backs, and he's in one of the plays he snaps his leg and breaks his leg.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
and I'm like, at this point, right, ambulance on the field, like it's a big deal, right? And I'm just like, and then to see one of your boys go down like that, right? And so we get in the huddle after all that. Winquist gets us in the huddle, and I think it's like Winquist and Wheeler. Remember those guys?
Yep, a
I,
thousand
I'm like,
percent.
and he's looking around and he's like looking for a running back or something. And I'm like, I got it, coach. Like I got it, right? So this is hilarious, right? And this is how long my life as a running back lasted, right? So you know, I'm not the fastest dude. So I get through there, I get the ball on like one of the plays. I get through the first like part of the line, and you get to the second level, right? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just somebody just boom, like blows me up. Ball comes flying out like this. Everyone's all piled on top of me. I fumbled, okay, and that was the last time I carried the rock as a running back. And I'm like, and then I realized like, some of the
That's a
running back,
terrible feeling.
yeah,
That's
we
probably
have
the first feelings to ever to like, and
right.
not too many people can experience it because you have to have the ball and the play has to be run for you. But like, dude, that's one of the worst feelings to like. It's hard to explain because it's like you not only feel bad, but you feel down bad because you let your whole team down. Everybody else that plays offense,
Mhm.
you feel bad because you gave up a fumble. It's hard to
And
explain that.
yeah, they're like, "Schwery, we're gonna put you back at tight end." All right, so that was kind of how it went, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember who blew you up?
What school were we playing? We used to play some of the Clover Park schools,
Yep, Lockburn, Hutloff.
Hudloff, Woodbrook. I don't know. It might have been Woodbrook. I can't remember the school. I
Yeah.
know it was a home game, and I do remember that. But yeah,
So is yeah. No, that's
it's
crazy.
but yeah, that was my time running back. So then, but yeah, it was funny.
Do you have any? Do you remember? Man, you brought up some names already, but like any other like teachers that stood out during that time period?
But yeah, I
Um,
mean, oh wow.
maybe the coaches.
So we had, Winquist was our football coach, right? So he was one, Wheeler, shop teacher, and he was another coach. Basketball, it was, we had a coach from outside the school. His name was Coach Fripp. And
Oh, yeah, that's right.
in
Flip.
my
Yeah.
eighth grade year, I was on varsity, and we ended up winning the league that year. Uh,
Oh, for real?
yeah, it was me. Who was on that team? You ever remember Chris Gibson?
Yes. Yep.
Mike
Chris
Gibson?
Gibson. Yep.
Chris Gibson, Mike Gibson, his brother, me,
Yes.
Belcher was on that team.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
There was a couple other people. They were
Who
like
else would have been?
they were ninth graders. They were a year older than us. But
Yeah, like Ryan Pendon might have been on that team.
Ryan Pendon, yeah,
Ryan
Ryan Pendon,
Pendon. Jason O'Brien.
Jason O'Brien, Ben Burmester.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
Ben Burmester. Yep.
yeah, so those are I can't remember all the names, but yeah, that year. Yeah, we won the league there on that. Our league that we played with in Clover Park and all that. So
Yeah.
that was fun. And then some of the other teachers, who was like, oh, who else? And who was my? I remember Mr. Samuj. I think he was like our science
Yes. Yep.
coach.
Chemistry. Yeah.
yeah, or something science or something, right? Something
Something
like
like that. Yeah.
that.
I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
I had him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had I missed Parker. I had Miss Parker because I was in like the honors program there at the thing. So who else was there? Miss Barlow. She was like my French teacher and like math teacher, I think,
Mm.
for the years. And then who was the Pitangoro? Did he do something? I can't remember all the names.
Yeah, Mr. Pitt.
You know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah, Mr. Pitt. I do remember Mr. Pitt. He had
Yeah,
like a beard mustache thing kind of going too.
yeah. I don't think I had his class. I think he did like the media. And I think like some other people we know were in that class. But
Okay. Yep.
yeah, I don't know. Those are some of the names that I can't remember all of them. But
Yeah. Do you have any other like I love the sports stories. Do you have any other sports stories from or even from Spanaway too? From
yeah, I got a few. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. Share
yeah.
some of those with us, man. It's
Let's
like
see. Let's see. Trying to think. Okay, so we go. Let's see. This is Spanaway, right? So as I come, remember how you talked about like as you come in as a sophomore. So as a sophomore,
yeah.
I come into the school and like I'm playing varsity football. Okay, as a
Yep.
sophomore. Okay,
Yeah.
and then we had guys on our team like Derek Rawls, Merlette, Brian Merlette,
Dude, those
some of these
guys were
guys. Um,
so yeah.
who were
Denny
I forget
Mullins, Dan
Mullen.
Starr,
Yeah, these guys. Okay,
Darian Malarcher. Yeah,
Archer
all those dudes.
and
We
these
had a
guys are not.
beast.
These
We had
guys
a
are not
beast.
tall dudes. Okay, and I'm
Yeah.
tall, but I'm like maybe a buck 70 at best.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe. Okay, so I'm tall and skinny, and I'm standing there every day, like in the lunch line. Well, not every day, but like I'd be in there, and I would see like Burlett or Rawls or one of these guys, and every day they would just like sock me right in the shoulder and like, hey, what's up? Like like it was like all love, but like, but it was one of those ones where you felt it, like you were like, oh,
Yes.
but like you
Yes.
you had to play it off like you didn't feel it, and they were always messing with me like that. But as the year went on, it was just at the beginning of the year they were just kind of messing with me. So that was just like the cafeteria. It was funny, and yeah,
Yeah. No.
and so that kind of scenario. I remember. Let's see. I remember the turf. Do you ever remember playing in the turf back in the day?
Yep.
It was
Yep.
like concrete carpet. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I had
Yeah.
some nasty burns playing on that stuff. One time we were playing at Sumner football in my
Yeah.
junior year. Our junior year, we were at Sumner, and it was like this back and forth. I think who was our quarterback? Was it Arnett? Steve?
Yes.
Yeah,
Steve
okay.
Arnett. Yep.
And it was like, and I had caught this pass. It was like this like out route, and this safety comes up and just like chops me right in the knee, and I fall over. I come limping off, right?
Yeah.
The Roback grabs me by the helmet, or maybe it was Mr. He like pulls me, he's like, Schwery. I was like, what? He's like, are you hurt or are you injured? I was like, because if you're hurt, get your ass back in the game, right? I was like, I was like, brother needed a minute just to sit there. But it
Yeah.
was like that, man. Like they just pull you by like the face mask.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For sure.
that was funny. It's amazing how you like bond with people on like the two-a-days, just people from
Sure.
the other schools, especially like when we were coming from Cedar Crest to Spanaway Junior. Like I
Yes.
didn't really know like Robert and Sean and these guys coming, um, and like, like Quentin and these guys, and then playing from a different school. And then immediately you're in August or July, you're going through these camps or two-a-days, and you kind of connect like you were talking about, and
Yes.
everyone hated the two-a-days. The equipment stunk. It was all wet. You
Well, that's
know,
what I mean. I mean, like we're going through two a days, so then like when school starts, it feels like it's like the
you've already
biggest
been to
break.
school like 2 months, right? And it's just
Yes. And then, but the fact, because that's what I think going to school, like having two practices a day sucked so bad. Like it's such a physical toll on the body that,
mm,
like, which I think is good for like just for all of our mental, like, because when actual school started and then you only have one practice after school, that's nothing, like that's like, that's like the easiest thing that, we can all like everybody, it's just an easy transition.
yeah, it was nice. And then yeah, and then also just I mean, a lot of my friends also were like upperclassmen, just because you're playing not only the people in our grade, but just other people, because you play with them and you're hanging out with them and you're on road games and doing things like that. So like,
Like those guys
So,
you just mentioned that would like, kind of like, whether they were trying to or not trying to, like intentionally or unintentionally trying to like punk you, but they're our
right.
teammates also, right?
But
Too.
yeah, it was all fun, and it was like, and
Yes.
they looked out for you. And as the year goes, and as you play with
Yes.
them longer, the respect grows because you kind
Yes.
of prove yourself a little bit and stuff. And just some of the people, like in the junior class, like even like Tony Tanwako and like Steve Bitts, and then some of the other people that I don't remember all the people, but that we played with, even in that range, you go to war with these people, especially in football,
For
and
sure.
and then all that.
Nah, man, for sure.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I got another one for you. But
uh
so we're my junior year.
okay,
I'm
yep.
basketball, right? We're on the road at Kentwood, right?
Okay, yep. Man, so this is Coach Josef's first year.
I think so. And
Yes.
and so you know how they do like the JV game first, right? So
Yes.
all right, so the JV game's playing, and and then our team's waiting, and some of the seniors on our team, went out in the hallway, and they ran into some like fans from Kentwood, and they were like talking shit, right, or whatever.
No way.
Yes, and I don't know if it was one or two of them, got in a fight and threw the guy into the trophy case and like broke the glass.
Whoa.
Yes, yes, this is like real.
Yeah. Damn. I
So
can't.
at Kentwood, like,
Oh my God.
yeah, yeah, at Kentwood, and I was just I don't know if I saw it, but I heard, how it all, happened, but
Yeah.
like that's something that happened, and I was just
Did
like,
damn, did it's funny, like that's far enough ago where they might not have had cameras in that
I don't
section,
think so. It's kind
right?
of
That which is crazy. That's how old we are, like, because today that would probably go viral as a viral
right. Yeah,
like video of
right.
somebody being thrown into like a glass trophy case like that. So
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's stuff. I mean, there's
what happened? Wait, hold up. Go back to that story. So what happened? Did you guys even still play the game? Because that's
we played. I don't. I think we lost the game. I can't remember
dude,
exactly.
that's hard to play a game after like an altercation like that. That's a strong enough of an altercation where hey, it might be okay for us to cancel the game today because
And yeah, we played on. And I
damn.
can't remember if one of the person that did it was like the coach like held him out. I can't remember exactly, but
So
uh,
potentially they could have actually played in the game still.
yeah, yeah, I think that was like coach's decision there. It wasn't like
Wow.
cool, but I'm like, yeah, the glass was like shattered. Like,
Yeah.
you know what
Oh
I'm
my
talking about? Like,
god.
towards the gym there, they have like a trophy case or somewhere in the school. Like, I don't know if it was
Yeah.
like fully cracked. It was like broke.
Year that was Coach Hostess' first year coaching,
I
the
think so.
basketball
Yeah, yeah,
team.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So that's like for all that drama to happen, man, Hostess had to deal with a lot of drama, like just his first year
A
as
lot.
a basketball coach. So that's kind of funny that that happened and stuff.
Yeah, that's one. I'm trying to remember back on some of the things,
Yeah.
but yeah, I got plenty, and then there's some baseball stories that I don't remember the baseball coach was an external, outside of and yeah, that was less organized at the time. It was then probably football. Football was the most organized because you had rollbackers at the school. I think my sophomore year and junior I had different basketball coaches, but yeah, but it was interesting all around, and we weren't really good at baseball my sophomore year. We were okay, but I was on varsity, and our varsity wasn't the greatest that year or the first.
Yeah. Oh
Maybe a lot
man.
of people at Spanaway did track, or I don't know,
Yeah.
the spring sports or something, but yeah.
Yep. I tried to do track. Like so I did track. That's the only sport I did at Cedar Crest was track, and that was
Okay.
ninth grade year. It was track and it was ninth grade year. That was the only sport I played at Cedar Crest. And then I did football when I came to Spanaway Lake.
Oh, okay.
And then I tried to do track at Spanaway Lake, and that's when I realized, like, man, I am not
All
on
right.
the level. Yeah, because, especially when we were, just definitely not at, like, I was fast for being on a football field, but like fast on the track, I was not that type of fast. And that's when it was, but looking back, it's like, man, I should have just stuck with it. Like, and
You would have got faster, and it would have helped
yes,
you. It would have helped you athletically for football and stuff like that.
exactly, exactly. And then not only that, because I also interviewed, I was talking to Chip about this, and he was saying that
The track guy, because his whole family was fast.
exactly. Exactly. But he was also saying like him playing soccer, because I think I should have maybe even did that sophomore and junior year, because I didn't do that during I did senior year. I played soccer senior year, but I should have tried to do, instead of doing track, I should have played soccer sophomore year and junior year, and like use that to also help me for football for the next year. So to kind of
My neighbor at the time when I was going to Spanaway Lake, you remember Robbie Rester?
yeah, 1,000%. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So he was my neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he used to have a soccer goal in his yard, and he would he was our kicker too at football. This guy would be kicking the soccer ball from the street. It was so deep, like working on his like kicks and stuff. Yeah, I was nowhere near that. I would just be the goalie to help him. And then, but yeah, yeah. So, hmm uh,
That's
my ninth
crazy.
grade, my ninth grade year, you brought up track, right? So we
Yeah, PE. He was like a PE teacher. Yeah. Yeah.
Gary McNeil, Chris Belzer, a lot faster people than I was. So we go out there. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna grade it on the curve, right?" And I'm like, "Well," or some weird way like this. So I go out there. We start running this mile, and these guys are flying around like it's a dead ass
Oh,
sprint around the thing.
yeah.
I run like the fastest mile time I've ever ran, like a 5:40 or whatever or something.
Wow.
Listen, about to pass out. And then he looks like, yeah, that's one of the slowest times. That's a D. D. Because
No
all the
way.
other guys in my class were faster.
Oh my God. I would have
I'm
hated
like,
that class.
I think
Yeah.
it was something like that. It was where
Yes.
based on that how you stacked up. I never
Yeah.
ran a mile that fast again. But anyway,
That's that
I'm not
sucks
a
that
track
you
guy, but
that was like your personal best
it was
and
like
you
my
still
personal best. We were running the track, and then and I'm not fast by any means, but for me it was fast, and
yeah.
so, but yeah.
Do you remember running the Grand Prix?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember what was the guy? You remember a guy named Jeremy Lafrada? You remember him? He
That
was a
name
year
sounds
older.
familiar, but I can't think of the face. But that
This
name sounds hella familiar.
guy's in my PE class, and
Oh, was
I was
he a smaller? Was he smaller?
no, no, he was like
Okay, never mind.
tall and
Okay,
thin.
no, no,
And so
no.
I'm in my eighth grade year. We got to run. I think we're Miss Norton or Miss Misley or whatever her name was at the time. And then okay, this dude's on a dead sprint the whole way,
No
and
way.
like lapping people. You know how it kind of. And I'm just
Yeah, because
that's not my
it's
thing.
a because how long would you think that is? I mean, it felt long for us in junior high,
Did
but
a
it was
couple
probably
miles.
like yeah, it was like maybe 2 or 3 miles.
Yeah,
It
tops,
was like
right?
3 mile.
I did like the perimeter and stuff like that,
The
right?
perimeter was only maybe a mile, less than that, maybe
Maybe
even,
you
right?
do some. I don't remember how it went.
The Grand Prix, like you had to like kind of go back and forth. Like you had to kind of
But
like you went around the track and then you had to kind of come around the track again. And I remember it was kind of confusing, but that thing was a bitch to run in junior high, and like every
I
PE
always
class
hated
had to
it. I
run
was
it.
like, yeah, this is crazy. Everyone
Yeah.
hated it because it was wet and cold out, especially VIP in the morning.
Yes.
We was hating life,
Yes.
but
And I
you
think
get
I did have PE in the morning back then. So
it
like
was
I was
in
one of those people
Washington.
hating life.
Yeah, it's like cold. It's all that wet, cold feeling the whole time. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's crazy.
So I don't know if you remember, right? So it's funny because like I told you, like so Camas Prairie, Cedar Crest, Spanaway Lake. My senior year, my parents moved. I went to Bethel my senior year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
I
yeah.
don't know if I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
So,
I do. I
but
do. Yeah.
crazy because like I went
I didn't
there.
realize they moved. I thought that
No, no, my parents moved to Graham, like out by like past Bethel High School, all the way.
damn.
you ever remember where like Rocky Ridge Elementary was? Way out there. I don't know if you ever been to that one, but
No, I don't think I ever.
it is deep, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, my parents had moved, and I went to Bethel my senior year.
Yes.
So that was interesting in and of itself. It was funny because I always like the people I hung out with mostly for the most part were Spanaway Lake people, even my senior
Yeah.
year. So
Oh wow.
because like I'm like already, especially a lot of the people from Cedar Crest and stuff like,
Yeah.
I mean, all the
Even
people.
Camas Prairie, like so.
Well, yeah, even some, yeah, because all the people like we grew up with, and especially like Cedar Crest, like you meet these people and you kind of grow up to it, and then by the time you're like your senior year, generally in high school, your friends are kind of established for most people,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I mean, I could drive. I used to work in Spanaway because my part-time job was I used to work at the RVs in Spanaway. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, I used to work there in part-time and all
Was that
that.
your first job?
Yeah, I started there when I was 16. I was working there at Spanaway Lake too. Um,
Oh,
it was the
snap.
one right there on Pacific Avenue, like 152nd, just north of that. And
Dude, that's crazy. Had I known, I would have been going in that place.
oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't
So
realize you were working at that one.
yeah, I used to work. I got hired there when I was 16. So even when I was playing football and you knew me and stuff,
Yeah.
I still worked there and stuff sometimes. So
No way.
uh,
So I didn't realize there was an Arby's right there. Is that like so 152nd? Are you saying by like Jack in the Box
yes,
and all
yes,
that?
like kind of diagonally across the street, other side of the street, just a little bit up.
Snap.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right there. There was like a auto parts store right there or something,
Yes. Okay.
and
Yep.
it
Yep.
was
Yep.
like right
Okay.
there. Yeah, yeah. So I used to work there. I worked there pretty much most of high school.
Dope. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and then it wasn't like I didn't like seek it out. They just gave me a job at 16, so I was like, oh, it's money.
Oh yeah.
But I just applied when I was 16, and I got my license like right away because my birthday is in the fall. So
Yes.
and then I got my license, and I was like, all right, I just want, once you can drive, I had to like pay for gas and stuff. So
Yes.
I
Okay.
then you want to hang out and get food with your friends and do this and that. So I wanted to have money. So I would work around my sports schedule too and all that too.
For
So,
sure. For sure. It's so funny. I've had a hella basketball players been come on this podcast random, and
oh, really? Who have you had?
yeah, like Jay Thomas, Corey
Hey,
Alexander, right?
Corey. Yeah, yeah.
James Jackson. So you guys are all basketball players and stuff. So it's always funny because we always kind of talk about how if things were different, like if you stayed at Spanaway Lake that like senior year, like because that senior year they like we just lacked big guys. We just didn't have a lot of big guys on the team. So there was like you and then like Josh Bernard if he had come to
Oh,
Spanaway Lake.
I played with Bernard. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
And
yeah,
uh,
at Bethel, right? So then yeah, see, exactly, exactly. And then there's people like Leroy, like if Leroy had come over cuz he ended up coming to Spanaway after we had graduated, he came
oh,
back cuz you
okay.
remember we played football with his brother John Johnson. Do you remember John Johnson?
Yeah,
Yes, his little brother Leroy. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We were talking about like putting together this like super basketball team. If everybody had just kind of stayed, because Leroy and Josh, they played at Spanaway Junior, you and Belser, and like, there's just like,
oh, yeah,
we could have
Belcher.
had this.
Um,
Yeah, that's another name that it was kind
and
of like,
we had Greg Sheldon, and he was there.
yes, yep, yep, yep,
Yeah.
and then
So and
and
then Jay.
yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, so it's tough because our two best players kind of, and Jay brings this up, like, were Jay and Greg, but they were both kind of like the same position. And so it was just tough to have, like, when your two best players kind of play the same thing, it's tough to have, like,
Yeah. And
so
then you got the style of play might be, depending on their style of play, and then it doesn't really if it doesn't like offset each
yes,
other, if it's like kind of similar, you
yes.
know. So yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
man, for real.
I did I think I talked to Jay briefly. I can't remember how long ago it was, but yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
trying
he
to
watches all of these, so
I think so. I think I
he'll
connected with him. I think he's in Germany or something.
Yep. Him and Robert are both in Germany right
Robert.
now. Yeah,
Okay.
Robert's out there too now. So, yeah, damn, Robert's been there almost 10 years now. And
Yeah, or like
Jay,
Ramstein area.
close
Do you,
to. Yeah,
Okay,
he's
yeah,
he,
because I
love.
stayed there. I had surgery. I've had surgery at that hospital before. Launch stool. Yeah, I know exactly
He
what.
works at the hospital.
He works at that hospital.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. That's
Wait,
crazy.
you got surgery there when?
I was like five, 6.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to have these like it's nothing like really crazy, but they had to put like these tubes in my ear because like to help with the drainage because I was always getting ear infections and things like that.
Yep, yep.
So they put these little you can't see them, but and they like fall out when you get older. For like when I was a little kid, I had to have surgery. Yeah, so I remember going there.
Dude, I'm telling you that military connection, kind of how like everybody's, it's so funny because that's like, because, what you call it? Somebody else was born there that I just found out. Colleen was born in that hospital. That's why I know Robert works there because Colleen was born in that hospital in Landstuhl and so random. And then like you got surgery in that same hospital, And so
And then just like the hospital that your mom worked at or whatever, where I was.
yeah, at Nellis. Yep, at Nellis Air Force Base. Yeah, and then so I even asked Robert and Jay. I was like, "Hey, can you guys find me the hospital in Wiesbaden where I was born at? Because like I've seen the hospital that you were born at in Vegas, and then like so, but I don't know. I think that I don't know if that hospital is still around in Wiesbaden.
I don't know because they closed down some of the bases and things like that over there. So
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
kind of transitioned it to other things. So yeah, I haven't been. I've been to Europe for work, but I haven't been back to Germany. So
You
I
gotta
haven't.
go.
I want to go to see it, but it's just
It's dope. It's dope. Like for me, like somebody that left, because I left Germany, I was probably like one.
okay.
And so I don't remember anything. I don't remember not one thing. But I've been back 3 times, and partly it's mostly because of Jay Thomas. But I've been back like 3 times, and like every time I go, it's fun. It's like it's so much fun as an adult, and like I just feel like there's a lot of like because I've done that too, like been on base over there, and just like the food is amazing, people are cool. It's just different, and
Different
just
vibe, right? Than what
yeah, it's a different vibe and like it's a fun vibe too. Like
good. Yeah.
I've been both winter and summer. That summer vibe is different. Like and it's funny because in that summertime you'll see a ton of Americans and like we stick out real easily. For me, it's like real easy to spot us. Like
Yeah,
that's a fun game to play. Like spot the American while you're in like said foreign country. Germany is like an easy place because I feel like I don't know, just something about us like is it's like the way we dress and like even maybe the way we walk. I don't know. It's just so it just sticks out to me. But yeah, I think you'll like I just think you'll have a good time out there.
yeah. So hopefully, if I can, if I was trying to hope if I have a work trip that I got a piggyback that I could do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for
Where
sure.
have you been? You said you've been to Europe. Like where in Europe have you been?
I've been to the Netherlands. I've been
Nice. Yeah.
into Austria, Switzerland.
Dude, you've been all around Germany. Those places are like right next to Germany too. Like I've taken a train from Munich to Amsterdam. So like that's it's
I've
right
been
there.
when I was a kid too.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, so I haven't. Yeah, because the mostly for work, I had to go to the Netherlands for my company is based, so I had to do that sometimes. I and then you're working, and I didn't, and then I didn't
It's
like stay longer because with the
it's
kids at
tough.
home and things like that. So I just I would always just come back.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes total sense. You said you had kids now. Like how many kids do you have and like what are their ages?
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
Nice.
I actually have twins. Um,
Snap.
they're boy girl twins, so they're fraternal. But
Wow.
they're 16, so they're sophomores this year. And
Wow, dude.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's crazy, huh? We go from
Yeah, no, that is
almost
I
30
love
years
hearing the
ago to yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
so
dude.
it's
Are
been
they do they play sports? I'm so curious now. It's like because you're
not
such the
anymore.
athlete.
Not anymore. I my son used
Oh,
to play. My son used to play up until like about 8th grade. He used to play basketball, and then baseball. So I used to coach and everything all the way up. And then when he got to high school, just I don't know, the interest wasn't as there as you need to be and all that.
yep.
So I'm totally cool with that. But
Yeah.
my daughter's not really into that. Like sports. She tried a little bit when she was younger, but so no,
Dude.
I'm still I still do what I can like to keep
Yeah.
active and stuff like that. So,
No, no, no. That's dope. That's dope. So when you went to Bethel, did you play all the sports there too? Did you do
oh,
football,
so no,
basketball, baseball?
I didn't play football.
Okay.
Um, I had hurt my knee my junior year playing football. Um, and then just like, and then I was like, and I think I had a great time playing with, they were calling me, honestly. They would call me like 3 times a week saying, "Are you gonna come? Are you gonna come?" And I was like, "Nah, nah." And I think
Ooh, who was calling you?
Bethel, they were calling me once
Football
I
team.
was enrolled there, right, or gonna go there. They wanted me to come out because it was during the summer, right?
Yeah.
And they were calling
It's so
me.
funny because so Jay Thomas stayed with the Lewises, right? Do you remember?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he stayed with
Lewis,
the Lewises. So do you
Lewis.
remember like Alex Lewis was he would have been a sophomore. He was a sophomore at he went to Cedar Crest. So
I,
he would he would have been a sophomore when you were a senior at Bethel.
oh,
But he they
oh,
so Jay lived, which is so funny. Jay lived right there in Classic View. Even his scene so he but they
that's where
he
Belcher lived.
moved yes, yes.
Belcher lived in that one.
Yes.
Yeah,
So Jay Thomas lived, he moved there halfway through our senior year. He lived in Classic View. So, like,
I know where yeah it is. Yeah,
so which is kind of, or no, 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 sorry, halfway through our junior year. So he actually moved, like, maybe same time, like around when your parents moved. And then, like,
yeah. Okay,
he
I
was
didn't know
able,
that.
he didn't want to, because he was new his junior year. He didn't
Yeah,
want to be
I
new
would
again.
if I were him. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
he didn't want to be new kid again senior year at Bethel, and he had already made all these friends already too. And he was like, "Man, that was already enough of a transition." Because his first day of his senior year, he had to actually go into Bethel and like do paperwork to basically explain to them that he wasn't going to be going there. And he was saying now the basketball coach was like trying to get at him to like come to Bethel, and like he was just like, nah, I just don't want to do that all over again. And so
Get it. I get. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
yeah,
So no, totally. But
yeah.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, so it's so funny. Like it's so easily he could have ended up going to Bethel too. In fact, when he came, they were trying to. I think they were trying to move into that house or a house in that area in Classic View. So like he was never really supposed to go to Spanaway Lake because when he came, they hadn't moved yet. But their plan was to move before he came
Oh,
from Germany.
okay.
But then when he came, they were, he already lived so close to Spanaway Lake. He was like, well, I'm not going to try to go to this other school out there yet. And then like Alex was still in ninth grade at Cedar Crest. So it was just kind of like, yeah, it wasn't the time. It's just so funny how like just these little things, like little decisions that our parents make, and then even kind of like maybe what we make or like what we think is good. And so it's kind of yeah, because you never know. It's like things can totally change. So you don't play any football your senior year, and then you play basketball. Did you play baseball?
Yeah, I did. I played both,
Okay, so you
and
played.
then I played baseball, and then basketball and baseball. And then it was funny. I remember my senior year, we were playing. I think we were either at Spanaway Lake or Bethel. We were playing Spanaway Lake,
Okay,
and boy, when I played in that game, I heard it. You know what I mean? Like from the crowd, it was. Yeah. So I heard it right, and but the people didn't really know then is that like I mean, it wasn't terrible there, but like
yeah,
my heart was still with Spanaway because all my friends and who I knew.
yeah,
Um, growing up and stuff was there. I mean, not that I didn't meet nice people at Bethel or whatever, but I think somebody else mentioned on one of your podcasts they went to a different school. Who was it? It was I think it was one of the was it like April or Alicia? Somebody went to Rogers.
April went to Rogers her sophomore year, like halfway through her sophomore year.
Okay, somebody there was some people that had left Cedar Crest and went to Rogers. I can't remember all the people.
Yeah, that was. Oh yeah, and Alicia. Well, she hasn't been on the podcast yet, but Alicia did that. She
Uh,
went to Rogers. She went to yeah. She went to Cedar Crest and then went to Rogers,
yeah,
and
I
then
mean,
like
and then I don't know.
Dimitri. Tanitra left after her sophomore year. Her family moved to
Or
Vancouver.
I remember
Yep.
that.
So then, because yeah, so that was like that was basically brutal for her because she was just finally like she was loving it at Spanaway Lake, and then for like
It's
the
funny how
movie,
I remember that. Some of these things about other people's life that you remember
yes,
happening, and it's like 30 years ago, right?
yes. Well, that's funny because she brought up. She's one of those people that brought your name up, or she brought you up just because that Camas Prairie. Well, you got all you is that lived right there by all you Camas Prairie people.
I
So
I mean, I think the first. I mean, I remember. You remember Zach Olson, right?
yeah, 1,000%. Yeah.
He moved to Washington.
Yes.
I was like one of the first people he met there because he was in my class, and
Yeah.
then him and Jay were in my class already,
Yeah.
and then when Zach moved there, he was just living down the street from me at the time before his parents moved over by Cedar Crest. But yeah, he was living just like one street over. I can't remember, one or two. And so yeah, like it's funny how you think back of these, how when you meet people for the first time, it's been that.
That's funny because I didn't meet Zach until he already lived by Cedar Crest already. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how like you're bringing up the like, you're remembering where the houses are at. Like, because now I'm
I
like,
remember it. I remember it. Yeah, exactly. I remember. I remember people. I remember when who was it? David Goodall came to Cedar Crest. I remember him. I ran into him just randomly in the hallway, and like we just like connected there, and I remember him telling me about. I can't remember exactly where he came from, but he was like a new student, just moved. You run into people
yes,
in my seventh grade year. You remember having like classes with, like, I think I remember had my reading class, I think with like Stickle or somebody like that from like,
yeah.
and you start meeting some of the people, but you remember some of these weird moments that are just kind of random, but the people that you grew up with and how you met them, so it's kind of interesting.
And this is the place to like kind of like throw those all up, right? And like this is a great place to kind of bring up those
Yeah,
because it's like rare that we ever get to talk about like those times, junior high, high school, even elementary, for like some of us that were from that time period. So it's like that's why it's kind of fun because it's like we all remember different things, and like it's one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is like when people bring up old memories and then it unlocks like
yeah, like triggers different things,
yes,
right? So I mean,
love that. I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
and I mean, and it's crazy. It's like, I'm talking to you. I haven't talked to you in years, right?
28 years
But
probably. Yeah.
but it like immediately kind of, I mean, obviously people evolve and stuff and change a little bit, but there's immediate like connection there that like, because you can relate back to when you knew that person,
Familiar.
familiarity to it, right? That like,
Super.
I mean, so, but yeah, I remember, I mean, just like random events. Like I remember I was playing at Camas Prairie. I was playing in an all-star team for baseball, right? For the little
Nice.
league.
Yeah.
That's where I met Ronnie Shear, who was, play baseball. And the guys, Ronnie's not very tall. And dude hit a bomb off me. He'll tell you to this day. And I thought I was like a stud pitcher, and this like shorter guy gets up to the plate and like smashes one off me at our practice. Just little moments like this that you
Yeah.
remember people. But yeah, so
I remember dapping you up randomly before like one of our track meets in junior high. Like
really,
just like stupid stuff like that. Yeah, just like like I remember you just like asking like who are we running up against or whatever, and then like yeah, it was just like because for me I remember that just because that was the first sport I played. Like I didn't really play any sports while I was at Cedar Crest, so I just remember like man, this is what it feels like to kind of be part of a school team, and then because that man that ninth grade year of running track was super fun because like so many people that I finally got to play sports with because like DJ ran track that year, and then like Goodall ran track that year, and it was just like it's just really fun to just kind of do a sport too right before leaving junior high, so before going into Spanaway Lake. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I remember. I can't remember. There was, I think it was like my ninth grade year, at Cedar Crest, and it was funny. I got a story for you.
yeah,
So I can't remember whose house we were at. We were at we were at Spencer's house, and Spencer lived across the street from Stickle. Okay, okay. This is up on 22nd or whatever. And I think I can't remember what happened, but we have this kind of like pseudo, I don't know if it was like a birthday party or somebody, people come over. And then I remember like there were some of the different people that we had there. I think it was like, some other guys, and then it was and then like some like Jenny and April and some of these other people were there, and like Marlith, you remember her? I don't know if you remember Marlith. Okay. And then like and people are dancing around, and they're like, and they were all trying to teach me how to dance, right? So for the folks that know, I can't dance, right? And I was like, and I don't remember who exactly it was. It was not Heidi, but it was somebody. They were like trying to show me. I was just like, they're like, nah, Chris. Yeah, I still remember that. Like it was as I was like, yeah, I guess I'll just stick to playing sports. But it was funny because that was one of the funny times I remember. Like it was kind of embarrassing for me, but like it was kind of funny when you look back at it, right? So
For sure, for sure. It's funny too, because like, man, doing enough of these, you kind of like get these random stories. And
that was some randoms like that.
yeah, because you brought up Marlith and super random. Jay ran into her in Germany, like after high school. Yeah. Because he was wearing a Spanaway. I know he was wearing a Spanaway like hoodie, like a track hoodie. And then she was going to the same college that he was at in Germany. And she seen him, she was like, what? She seen the hoodie and was like tripping. And she was like, and then that's how she was like, yeah, I went to Cedar Crest. And so it was just
That's
like,
crazy.
dude,
That's crazy.
that's what I mean. That's why it's like, that's kind of the theme for all of these, like how so many of us are like connected, and it's, like, and it's just tight because this gives us a chance to kind of like bring some of that stuff up, like just random stories that like, and yeah, it's been fun doing this.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because like because I don't know if you know, like, so after high school, right? I went to UW.
I was just gonna ask you about that.
Okay, so
Yeah, so what happened?
after high school, I went to UW Seattle. Okay, Ronnie Shear and I were roommates, and we were living off campus in like Northgate area, somewhere in there, and we were commuting in. And then after that freshman year, because I think I saw you there, right? That's when I last saw you. I think that's might have been.
Maybe.
I think that was the last time I saw you. To be honest with you, like I can't remember back, but so
Think
I
so too. Don't have any memories other than maybe that time. And like,
yeah
man, I'm so pissed too because I don't know. I'm just like, dude, I had some fun times at UW. But anyways, continue
yeah
on. So
yeah.
did you keep going to UW?
No. So
Okay.
so after my freshman year, I think so Ronnie and I were roommates. Ronnie moves back to the Spanaway area, and then I at the time um I was dating a girl that was going to Shoreline,
Okay. Yep.
and then she's like, say, hey, I ended up staying living up here at Shoreline, and then it's like, oh, you should play baseball and basketball. So I ended up started playing baseball, and then one day I was playing open gym, just randomly messing around the gym, and the basketball coach recruited me, and then
No way.
I ended up playing basketball and baseball in the Shoreline, C, JC or whatever, and
No way.
I ended up playing against Josh Bernard. Played before he went to UW one year. He played at TCC one year. I played against him, and
Oh, dude.
yeah, and so yeah, I have some. So I did that, and then after I did that, I went to UW Bothell. That's where I graduated from, UW Bothell.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then yeah, so that's where I was working, and that's where I live. I live today. I don't know if you know that. Like I'm in Bothell.
Nice. Yeah, I love Bothell. I mean, I just like that north area. I lived in North Seattle for like I lived by Northgate pretty much all throughout my later years of college, and then I just stayed there. And so I lived like right off of Aurora and like 92nd. I lived there forever just because I had this like super cheap apartment there. And then like, yeah, I just loved staying there. It was like, it was close to downtown and it was close to UW. So I was like able to go to like UW events, and yeah,
So
it was fun living there.
where do you live now? Or what
I
area are you?
am overseas right
Oh,
now. I'm in Samoa now. Yeah. So
you're in
yeah.
Samoa?
Yeah. So I've been here like so like after all those years in Northgate, I'm actually so that's when I went to Vegas to kind of hang out with my parents for a little bit just cuz they were getting old. I didn't know it, but at the time my dad was sick and then he ended up passing away. Yeah. And then during that time, my mom was working at Nellis, right? And then she didn't want to do that no more. So she wanted to move back to Samoa after my dad had passed and all that. And this is like right around COVID too. So like, so I'm in Vegas during COVID and that whole time period. And then my mom wanted to move out basically out here. So then I was like, okay. So then I kind of helped her move out here. And then, so I've just been kind of like freelancing and like I sell insurance and I do all this like other, now I do this podcast too. So, but
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, yeah. So like, yeah. So I just kind of like, so that's kind of why I'm out here for the time being. But I plan on coming back for sure, and it would be fun. Like that Bothell area is fun because I like, there's that. How come I can't think of it now? Anderson School. Do you ever go
Yeah,
there?
yeah, yeah. Okay, I know
To
what you're talking about. It's I know what you're talking about. McMenamins now is what they call it now.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
one of my favorite places to drink in all of Washington. And
yeah,
even if
yeah,
you don't drink, it's a great place to hang out, right?
yeah,
Can
yeah.
you explain what McMenamins
That's where.
Anderson School is? Like, what is it? If you
Oh,
like,
so it's like it's it's uh it's funny. It's like an old schoolhouse I think they used to have for Bothell, and they converted it into like this kind of quasi resort. They have like a hotel, they have a pool there. They got like a couple of bars where you can sit outside and like and it's funny because um that bar is like where I met my current girlfriend. I mean, not there, but that was like that was our first date of going
no
there.
way.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I, yeah. So yeah, so that's one of the places it's like kind of the go-to because we don't live very far from there.
I love that spot. I'm definitely gonna. So next time I'm in town, I'm definitely gonna have you
Yeah,
like
yeah, hit me
have
up.
to meet up. Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, that spot is dope. So it's basically a converted junior high slash middle school. It was a old junior high or a middle school. So just imagine like Cedar Crest Junior High just turned into like a big ass bar, basically, where they have like the cafeteria is basically where they sell food, and then they have like wood shop class, which is like a whiskey bar, and then they have like the pool area, which is like its own actual pool. But at
They
the
have a
very
bar
top,
above it. They have a bar.
yeah,
That's
they have
the
a
one
tiki
that my
bar.
girlfriend and I. That's the one where we went the first time, and yeah, that was it. I was like, it's like a tiki bar type thing or something.
It's crazy because you could potentially have your kids, if you wanted to, like go to the pool below and you're in the tiki bar above, and you could like kind of make sure your kids are okay and stuff. And like, it's kind of the way that's designed. I think it blows my mind. I love it. I'm just like, damn, that place is so, it's one of those places where it's just like, man, it's just so dope. So yeah, if man, do you ever, man, speaking of Spanaway people though, there's anybody you still keep in touch with? And like I said, I probably like, this will probably like get you back into like, I think people will reach out after like
Yeah.
hearing and seeing from you here. But anybody
Oh,
you still
oh,
keep in touch with
yeah,
today?
yeah, yeah. I play golf regularly with Ronnie Shear. So I play
Nice.
golf with him. Yeah, yeah. So I play with him
That's dope.
regularly. I play down at Spanaway Lake usually, the Lake Spanaway golf course.
Way.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you
So
go all the way back for that from
I
Bothell?
drive
That's
down.
a
Yeah,
trek.
it's a trek, but yeah. So, but it's a good course, and there's another guy that went to Washington High School that I play baseball with that plays with us. So it's kind of I've been doing that for like 3 4 years, for like the COVID time. And so
Nice.
I talked to him, and then I talked to some random, but I talked to some just people like randomly, like I think like remember Jason Inaway, he reached out to me on LinkedIn,
Yes.
and then I ran into Ralph one time at the Walmart up here, or maybe it was I don't know if it was David. I can't remember one of the two. It's been a little while, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I, I'd like to keep in contact with more people, but I think people, we didn't when we left high school, we didn't have this whole phone
Social
network,
media.
social media,
Yes.
this whole thing. It's like a new thing, right? Like that's like looking for pictures is like hard, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
we don't take a picture every 10 seconds, like kind of like it,
Yes.
right? So,
Yeah,
but
because
yeah,
you needed an actual camera. This is why people that had cameras with them back in those days are so forward thinking, so gangster to like have not even just like even a regular Polaroid camera or even just the old school because the cameras that you needed that you had to go develop. Like that's like kids these days have no idea the struggles that we had to go through just for taking pictures and looking at them. Like we would
Uh,
take a picture and then wait a week to see what they looked like.
yeah, I had like when I was in high school, I had a pager. If that gives you some idea. Remember the pager?
Yeah,
Yeah, I had
exactly.
a pager, and then my first cell phone wasn't even until my freshman year in college.
Yep.
I mean, it
Mine
was
was sophomore year in
like
college.
that kind of brick, like voice stream or AT&T type
Yes.
scenario, and like you didn't even have text. We had like night and weekend calling or something, right? You know, like,
Yes.
oh, jeez,
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So different, and then so yeah, but
No, man. It's so funny how many years have passed
it's
where
funny
it's
because
like,
now I'm like a dad, you know, I'm this and that. You change
yeah,
your whole life changes, you know, like
yeah,
relationships, you know, like, you know, I'm in a relationship now, that whole situation. I mean, you know, and then you look back, you know, where you came from is like, you know, I look back to where I was in high school and now two kids,
yeah.
great girlfriend,
You're
great life.
kids
And
that are
now
actually in high school now. So that's
in
what's
high
so
school
crazy.
now,
Yeah.
and you're gonna you listen to this. One of my kids' teachers,
Yeah.
my kids go to Bothell High School, okay?
Okay.
That's cool. Had my mom at Spanaway Lake.
No way.
Yes.
No way. Oh, damn.
Crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, small
If
world,
there
right?
super small world, super small world. If there was anybody from Spanaway days that you could maybe want to reconnect with, did any names come to mind?
Oh man, there's a lot. I mean, I just see a lot of the people that have been on this podcast. I saw some of the few that like, I mean, immediately brings me back to like the days where, you know, either Cedar Crest or Spanaway Lake or both. And
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a lot. I think there was one year we had like a 20-year reunion, and I think it was somebody reached out to me. It was like Katie or somebody, and I, for whatever reason, I don't know, I wasn't able to go. I can't remember what happened,
Damn
but
it,
like,
Shuri.
I
No,
know,
I'm just messing with you.
I missed it. And then, but now you're looking at like 30 years out, like there's just a lot of people. It'd be cool just to like catch up, and it's hard to be like one or two people. You know, I think there's just a lot of people that you know, you and I and a lot of other, we knew a lot of people, right? You know, just through the
For sure. Just through sports alone, there's hella people. And so,
guys and girls, right? I mean,
yeah.
and so it would be cool to like connect, even if it was, you know, to be
Well, I
able to
think
like
that's the plan when I get back is we'll definitely have some in-person events. We don't I don't want to have to wait for a 30-year, right? Cuz it's only 2025, 2028 is like still 3 years away. It's like
30
nah,
years.
man, we should be getting together as much as people can or as much as people want. That
Yeah,
definitely will be a thing as far as getting people together. I think that's
I saw you had who was else was on it? I think you had Brienne, or I don't know her
yep,
last name,
Bree,
but
yep, yep.
yeah, she was. You had her, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how who's like networked, but if I mean, for the most part, I think most people see me as class of '98 still, and so
Yeah. You're a
Spanaway.
1000% class of 98. Yeah.
So I mean, meaning from Spanaway, just from my history, right? So I don't know. Yeah. So just if you're connected, you know, with people or whatever, just don't remember me, holler at me.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people are already going to do that. And like I said, like if I were to ever come back, I would definitely round up the usual suspects and like cuz it's funny is like Zach lives by you. Like he actually
He
has a
lives
house up
north
there.
of me, right? Somewhere up there.
Yeah,
Like
I think
I
he's
talked to him
closer
briefly
toward.
one time, and
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, I
See,
think
so we're all over the place. And like I lived in North Seattle for the longest, so I know that area like pretty good.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I used to, like I said, like that Anderson School is like a fun place. It's like,
that's
you know what
funny.
I mean? So, but yeah, no, that's why it's like one of those things. Before we land the plane here, is there anything else that you kind of want to say to maybe the people out there before I ask you this like last question?
I don't know. I guess say to the people, I think it'd be great to connect. Holler at me if you want to say hi, say hello.
I will have, and Chris's email will be in the description in the show notes. So you can reach out to Chris there and check him out on, you can just shoot him an email. So for any reconnection. And
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. It's been fun. I think when I saw some of the other people, all the people I think that you had on, I'm like, yeah, I know all of them, right? Whether I think I saw like Corey, James, April, and there was, I think April. Oh, who was it? Another, I can't remember. You had a few other people that
yeah,
I
I mean,
recognized.
we've had 20, there's been 20 of these. Like, I
Okay,
think you're episode 24. So that's what I mean. I've had like a pretty good number of these. And
yeah,
so,
and
yeah,
that's
man.
all.
And I
You had
appreciate,
Lauren Stewart, you had Jay,
yeah,
you had some of these
yeah,
other people. Yeah, so all these people, obviously I know. Um,
yeah,
Fairly well from when I was in school, but like, just because of, the friend circle, the classes, whatnot.
yeah,
I,
absolutely. It's fun. It's like, this is, it's, we've kind of explained this in different ways, like this is like long form Facebook, or this is also like it's just different that like at school, like schoolmates from like our age group and our era, it's like different to have like a podcast where you can kind of reminisce like this. I don't know. And so
so,
it's fun for me to make. Would
so
you?
what's interesting is like, I try to tell my kids, um, like how I grew up, like at the Spanaway, right? At Spanaway Lake.
Woo!
So my kids, right, when my kids were smaller, they used to have like bring your kid to work day. So my kids have been to Spanaway Lake, okay, a few times because my mom used to teach there. They were
Yes.
smaller,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
my mom used to teach like AP English or something like this, right? So she would have some of her good students like be like the chauffeur of my kids around Spanaway Lake for the day. So they've done this a couple of times. So they've been to Spanaway Lake. Now it's been remodeled a little bit and stuff, right?
Yes.
But it's funny. I try to tell my kids like the era and like the 90s and how it was, and like I'm like it wasn't just like it was kind of it was a lot of cultures. It was a lot of it was rougher at times, right?
Yeah.
You know how we grew up, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
like they live, necessarily where they go to school, it's still a lot of that, but it's not exactly the same
For sure.
demographics and everything. And I try to explain it to them, but they, you know what I'm talking about, right? But it's
In
interesting.
fact, this is a question I ask a lot of people. Actually, I have a few here now. So, like, when you think of Spanaway, what does that make you think of when Spanaway comes up? Like, what does that?
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately, my opinion is it's like kind of gone downhill a little bit more
It's
since
okay. Yeah.
I don't know, since we lived there, 20, 30 years ago. And then the other side is that maybe I didn't realize it was as bad because I'm a kid versus an adult looking at it with a different
Yeah.
lens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think generally speaking, it's still kind of, it's rough, right? I mean, but I look back at it and it's kind of made me the person, I would do it all over again, because I think just meeting all different people from different places, dealing with some of the different activities that were going on, and just
Yeah.
navigating and all that stuff, I think it makes you into a person that you are today. So I had
For
a great
sure.
time, at Spanaway. I wouldn't
Yeah.
change it, but it's hard to explain to people in different areas of, especially up here in like Bothell or like Redmond and
Yeah.
some
I
of these.
mean, that's what made me think of it. Like when you said you're trying to explain to your kids. So
They
I'm
don't
just
they
wondering.
don't really get it. I'm like, they're like, Dad, was it like ghetto? They're saying, I'm like, how do I
And you're
explain
just kind of like, kind of, but not really. It's,
it? But like,
yeah,
and all at the end of the day, I mean, so many good people,
for
uh,
sure.
so many friends that I had in school growing up all the way through, and I can't put a price on that. That was,
For
I always.
sure.
And then it would
For
be
sure.
like you said something about doing this podcast, right? It'd be cool to see just like how people, what their life is like, how it's kind of like turned. I mean, does some people have kids? Do some people married?
Yeah.
Or some people, I've gone through a variety. I don't know,
Yeah.
you and I have talked about this, but so I mean, I was married for
I mean,
15.
if you do the math of the information that you have given us already, I think people could kind of figure
Oh, I kind of get that
that
out.
out, right?
Yeah, and then so then you kind of see what people's life journey is. I mean,
Yeah.
like, whether people are still single. I'm in a great relationship right now,
Dope.
the girlfriend. all that, and my kids are, hopefully on the right track and all that. You're trying to
Yeah.
do the right thing, but it's interesting to hear people's stories, just about how
Yes.
their life as whether they made the decision or on whatever they decide to do, whether it's career,
Yes.
just, family, all that stuff. So that would be the cool thing about catching up. Just
Yeah.
as an adult, it's a different perspective.
It is. And like the other one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is just kind of like listening to the growth everybody has kind of gone through. And so whether it's come from different things like, people like fighting cancer off and people having kids and people
Yeah,
going through
yeah.
husbands and wives passing away. Like people have gone through some life already. I mean, at our age, and to be honest,
Or
for
we've even had classmates that are no longer with us that have passed.
yes,
I mean,
yes. There's actually a lot of us that there's a lot of classmates that have passed already, which is sad because it's like, and we mentioned a few of them in this podcast already. So that's why it's just kind of like, man, I'm glad that
right.
we can do these podcasts to bring those people up and like, just kind of like remember them and also like it's nice to have these podcasts on record so that people can also possibly remember us because we're not going to be here forever too,
You
right?
start, you
So
start, you start, you start realizing really quickly.
yes.
I'm 45.
Yep.
That life isn't guaranteed, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and but yeah. So, but yeah, that would be
Yeah.
cool to see the if that came out of any of this, just to to reconnect. A lot of years from Spanaway, I have a lot of
For
memories.
sure. I ask people this question random before I ask you the very last question. But so you went to UW Bothell in like those years. Where were you at during 9/11? I like asking that question random, just hearing people's
Yeah,
experiences during that time
uh,
period.
yeah, interesting. I was actually living in Shoreline because
Okay.
I was playing basketball at Shoreline.
Dude, that's so
I was like
crazy.
2000, was that 9/11
2001.
2001 September? Yeah, I think I was still playing. I think I was still playing there. Yeah, I think so. Or I might have. I'm trying to remember back if I was going to UW Bothell at that point in my first
Yeah.
quarter because I graduated in 2023 or something. I can't remember.
2003.
Yeah, 2003. Sorry, not 2023.
Yeah.
2003. So I might have just can't remember somewhere in that range. But I was living in Shoreline when it happened, and I was yeah. So that was and I actually took my kids 2 summers ago. We went to New York and
Yep.
we saw the Twin Towers. So we saw that. So that was
Yeah.
cool. So
The memorial that they
the
have there now.
memorial, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you asked the question, so it made me think about it.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's because that's funny. I worked in Shoreline. I worked right there, Carter Subaru during
Carter
uh
Subaru
yeah, it's on like
off
one
99 right there off of
yes.
what's the cross street.
I want to say 175th in Aurora.
I know exactly where that is. Yeah, I was close by. I was like
Damn.
I was probably like 5 minutes from there, not too far. There was like
Yeah.
there was like a Fred Meyer.
Yes.
I
Yep.
live. Do you know where Richmond Beach Road was and all that over there?
Yes,
I was
dude, that's
living.
another secret spot. Richmond Beach is a dope ass like
Yeah,
secret
yeah.
summer
So
spot.
behind there, if you go back a little bit, I was like, yeah, I was
Dude, you
living out.
live back there?
Yeah, for when I
During
was going
that
to Shoreline.
dude.
Yeah, I was like right there.
Oh my god, cuz me and Daniel worked at that Carter Subaru. We worked at cuz I got him a job at that dealership. So like
Wow.
we worked there like I think we both worked there up until maybe 2002, 2003. But like
Hmm.
dude, we were right next to you and like we would yeah.
That was
I used to
crazy.
hang out in that area. Yeah, I used to hang out in that area a lot actually.
Yeah, I lived there for about 3 years or so, and then I ended up moving over into Bothell, because I was working and going to school over there. So,
'Cause that Richmond Beach spot is a cool little spot too. That's like
oh
a
yeah,
nice little like not too many people know about that little beach spot, but it's like a perfect place to go. Like on a the water's super cold, but like dude, that place is
it is.
dope.
One thing about doing this, some of the things that I never thought that you would tell me that you knew about or you had been to the same places as me. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
this is wild.
I
Just
mean,
the
like
whole
when you're broke, like Richmond Beach is like a perfect, like, because, during that time period, it was like early 20s, don't
because
have a lot of
it goes
money.
down the hill and all that.
Yes. It's a perfect place to like go on a date where it's like, hey, you don't have no money, but it's like, you can have like bring a little bit of snacks out there and maybe some drinks or whatever. And then like it's just a cool chill spot. You just gotta go over the train tracks and like all that stuff. And but it's dope though. It's like yeah, it's a dope little spot. So
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So now basically to finish this off here, like if you could go back to 98 and or just that time period when we were in high school and have a conversation with yourself, what would that conversation look like?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. I think if I could go back into the 90s, I would care a lot less about what people thought, right?
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously, I wasn't for me at that time period in my life. I wasn't. I was fortunate enough. I wasn't a kid that didn't have friends or something like that. I had
yeah.
that, right? But also, you kind of, in high school, because I see this with my own kids, like you get caught up into what everyone else is either saying about you or what they think about
Yeah.
you, and so and so said this or that, and I would have just like, just not even cared, right? But at that moment in time, you don't know, and you're more caught up into that. And I think as you get to like your junior, senior year, you care less. But so, but yeah, I would. That's one thing I would do, and probably also, I don't know. I guess I would have. Not like I didn't cherish the friendships, but I would have like, you don't realize that all these people that you hung out with all the time, that all of a sudden one day you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna see them again, right? And
Yeah.
you think at first like, oh yeah, in the first couple of years you see a couple of people here and there, but look, we're connecting after like almost 30 years or
Yes.
years, and then you kind of think to yourself like, dang, I never saw that coming, right? When you're that
Yeah.
like, so I would say like try to hold on to those, and obviously you don't stay friends with everyone or connected with everyone, but like there's a lot of people that I think even the both of us knew
For sure.
that I wish, would have stayed in contact with a little bit more throughout the years.
I mean, that's part of one of the reasons why I'm doing this is to kind of reconnect people just like yourself with people like myself. So it's like I'm happy to do it and I am happy to be a resource for those out there. Yeah, that's part of the it's funny because I was having this conversation the other day. It's just like the when you have the technology to keep in contact with a whole bunch of people, it makes you lazier to actually keep in contact with people. So I feel like
Yeah,
so
because you can
yeah.
kind of do this like passive type,
Yes.
communication and things like that, right?
Yes.
Where back in the day when you had to like remember somebody's phone number, like
Yes.
I don't remember any phone number barely anymore. And
I remember only my own,
right,
my phone number
right.
for my old house in Spanaway. That's literally the only number I remember. I
But
don't
when you had
remember
to
anybody
call
else's.
one of your friends in high school, you had to actually know their phone number.
And I mean, what's funny is like we had those memorized. Like
Yeah, and
there's
now I
probably like at
can't even
least five.
remember anything.
Exactly. 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 No, that's why it's so funny. Yeah, man. Well, man, dude, I really appreciate you for jumping on the podcast and because to bring up the fact that you're talking about how like to not want care about what people think. I think that's huge. And I think that's actually one of the things that stops a lot of people from coming on this podcast. They're like, people are too like self-conscious or whatever. Like they're afraid of what they're going to look like on the internet and stuff. And it's just like, dude, it's, and I don't want to force anybody, but there's been hella people who have said they might come on and they still might, but it's just crazy how many people say no to coming on the podcast. So that's why I don't want to I mean I want to stress the fact of how thankful I am that you were just down to be like, hey, yeah, I'm down to jump on the podcast and talk
Yeah,
about
once I saw some of the people that were on it, like, and maybe I don't know if I'll inspire anybody to want to jump on it, but like once I saw some of the
yeah.
people, a lot of these people I know and I grew up with,
Yes.
in Cedar Crest and
Yes.
Cedar Lake. So, and I know I knew them fairly well in school too, right?
Yes.
um, so I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Like when you reach out to me,
It's
I'm like,
dope.
and I was like,
I
I'm down.
appreciate it.
Yeah. So,
Nah, man, it's dope.
thanks for having
It's
me on.
so dope. To be honest, I would love to actually, if there is a place where I would want people to like meet at, it would actually be Anderson School might be one of those places to like, it's big enough that you could bring as like hella people too. Not that hella people would come, but if there was like an event, Anderson School was possibly one of those places to like throw an event where it's like, hey, I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but I just that's how much I love that joint. That spot is just so it's fun. It's just like, and it's kind of the theme of the podcast is like the theme is kind of like junior high / high school day, like just school days. So that's kind of funny because that they have a bar at the top called the principal's office in the hotel, and like yeah, it's like they have it has its own like drink specials up there. It's such a cute random place that I it's another one of those things that I would love people to experience it, to go to Bothell and kind of experience what that
Yeah.
place is like, you
Well,
know.
I mean, you got the connects. Make it happen.
Yeah, okay, for sure, for sure.
I mean,
For
yeah,
sure.
just let me know, and yeah, I mean, I'd be definitely down if people were to like show up, or even if it was one off, two off.
Because have you ever stayed there? I mean,
No, I mean, I
right there, yeah, no, that makes sense.
miles from the place, so yeah. I mean,
I would probably, for especially for all the people that still live in Spanaway, that wouldn't be a bad place to like spend the night, because they have it there, and so
because
yeah,
it's kind of a drive, more or less.
yeah, exactly, exactly,
So,
exactly,
but yeah, but yeah, if you're ever in town or whatever, or if you have some other people, or I mean, yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah, no, well, I'll set something up for sure when I get back, and then yeah, it should be a good time. So, but thank you again, Chris, for joining the podcast today, and for all you guys out there, we will catch you guys in the next one.
All right, see you guys later. Thanks, Hans.